Good evening, DFS Jaggers. My name is Riku Mukherjee. This is the DFS Jag season-long fantasy football stream. Like I said, my name is Riku Mukherjee. That is my partner in crime, Chris Caldwell. What's up, Chris?
Not much, man. Just doing my best not to overreact and hold back some tears these first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Somehow grinded out a 6-3 record this week, but it feels awful.
That's good. Pretty sad week for us Ravens fans. We'll get into all that in a minute. But if you are new to the channel, please like, comment, subscribe, all those good things. Click the notification bell so you know when we go live. And we did it, Chris. We finally got to 1,000 subscribers to the channel. So yay, us. We've been doing this for a while now, and we finally hit 1,000 subscribers. And I know Mike's pretty excited about that. I'm pretty excited about it. So now let's charge up and try to get to 2,000, hopefully, by the end of the year.
Yeah, I think pretty doable. I mean, when we started this, what did we start? Or 2 years ago? No, just last year was our first year, right?
Last year was our first football season. I had started golf the year before. So, yeah, about a year and a half.
Let's keep giving the people some good advice. Obviously, people are coming back for more. So let's give them some winners for this week.
Yep, and we are sponsored by Gorilla Garage Gear. They're doing a giveaway to give away 2 tickets to the Sunday game between the Bills and the Packers. So if you would like to enter in the draw to win 2 tickets to the Bills-Packers game in Buffalo, please leave a comment on this video, subscribe to the channel, and we will do a drawing in a couple weeks to let you know if you won. We're going to run a quick ad for Gorilla Garage Gear.
Nothing beats a Gorilla Garage floor, the ultimate floor coating system. Our secret ingredient, a slow cure solid epoxy mortar used to repair and prime the surface. Then we grind it, vac it, coat, color, scrape, and seal it. And with dozens of colors to choose from, your Gorilla Garage floor is the toughest on the market. Visit GorillaGarageGear.com or call 715-6927.
Go, go, Gorilla!
That commercial always gets me. Go Gorilla. All right, yep. Thanks again to Gorilla Garage Gear, our sponsor. Like I said, they're giving away 2 tickets to the Bills Packers game in Buffalo. If you would like to enter in the draw to win 2 tickets to that game, please subscribe to Nickel City Mafia on YouTube and leave a comment on this video. It can be any comment you want. You can ask us any fantasy question you want, or it can just be what your favorite movie is. I don't really care, but just leave a comment, and you'll be entered in the draw. Welcome to the channel, Teresa. She said, glad to be here. Watched all videos all morning. You guys rock. Thanks, man. Thanks, Teresa. Welcome to the channel. I hope you enjoy our content. We do this every week. So basically a quick format rundown for the show. We're going to recap 5 games from last week, talk about the fantasy implications from those games. We'll mix in some other games if we may not talk about those games directly, but we'll talk some injuries throughout the league, stuff like that. And then we'll do a little segment on some players that we want to sell high and buy low on in fantasy for trades. And then we'll talk about this week's upcoming week's waiver wire before waivers run tonight and tomorrow. And then we'll wrap up the show. So yeah, Chris, you said you went 6-3 this week.
Yeah, between all my dynasty leagues and redrafts, somehow went 6-3. So I was like 5-4 last week and 6-3 this week. It feels gross, but hanging in there so far.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I had a really bad week. Week 1, I went 0-6, but I bounced back this week, went 4-2. Pretty much had no sweats Monday night. I pretty much locked up all 4 of my victories Sunday in dominating fashion, and then 2 leagues I couldn't catch up in. So 4-2 bounce back. Like we said last week, we don't want to overreact to week 1. We also don't want to overreact to week 2. But some things, and some very minor things and some major things, are coming clear to us as we move through 2 weeks of the season. And it was a pretty exciting Sunday compared to last weekend. For week 1 was very blah, very meh, like I said. Very boring week 1, I thought. Not many exciting games. A lot of teams just looked bad. But this past weekend, man, we had some exciting finishes. Big, huge comebacks, last-minute comebacks in multiple games, including the Ravens game. I was glued to the television on Sunday, man. How about you?
Yeah, well, I was unfortunately at the Ravens game to see one of those wonderful comebacks. So we'll talk about that one in a little bit, but I still have a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into it. We'll start talking about our first game that we wanted to recap, which was the Thursday night game last week. Kansas City Chiefs at home against the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chiefs they were winning this game by 10, and the Chargers got a backdoor touchdown to cover the spread. They were +4 in this game, so they had a last minute touchdown from Justin Herbert with broken ribs or broken rib cartilage or something. He was a hero to for Chargers bettors there that came back and covered the spread. But overall, the Chiefs won this game. Pretty exciting Thursday night game, I would say. The Chiefs, along with the Bills, probably look like the two best teams in the NFL, just like I said last week. What did you see in this game fantasy-wise, Chris?
So I think a lot of people will be pretty surprised, but Clyde Edwards-Hilaire, running back 6 through 2 weeks. Um, I like to pay attention to the first drive of the game, and they just go to him right away. So, Andy Reid has confidence in the guy. He's putting up numbers 2 weeks in a row now. I think, for my money at least, um, Clyde's a strong RB2 moving forward, and kind of no way to argue that through 2 weeks, just through his the way he's been used and the way they're kind of leaning on him there. So um, he had 8 carries. That doesn't sound like a lot, but there's only 18 total rushes in the game for the Chiefs, so he's getting a lion's share of the work there, and being used a lot in the passing game. So love the way CEH has been used so far. If you drafted him, you got a great value so far, um, and I think that usage will continue. Other than that, I was alluding to this a little bit last week. The Chiefs, for as many points as they score, they are frustrating fantasy wise. Other than Mahomes, other than Kelsey, and other than Clyde getting off to a hot start, I don't know that there's anyone you're like really excited to play in fantasy. Juju, I guess, but he's like what, a wide receiver 3 or like a strong flex play.
Three
Other,
targets.
yeah, other than that, it's like he had a decent week 1, but there's no one you're just like jamming into your lineup and excited about, right? I mean, am I missing someone? What do you think?
No, you're not missing anyone. That's what makes Patrick Mahomes the best quarterback in the NFL, and maybe possibly the best quarterback of all time, is the fact that he just knows how to spread the ball around, and he knows the times to throw to Travis Kelsey. Yes, he's usually his number one target. Back when they had Tyreek, he was his number 1A target with Tyreek. But now that they don't have Tyreek, they don't have that playmaking wide receiver out wide that can really, you know, turn a game around or flip a game around on his head or break the slate, as we say in DFS. Like we saw Tyreek literally do this past weekend for Miami. So that's just what makes Patrick Mahomes so great, even with, I would say, a bunch of wide receiver 2s and 3s or whatever it is. Just knows how to get the job done. He's a great fantasy quarterback. But yeah, other than Travis Kelsey, I'm going to push back on CEH a little bit, but I will save that for our sell high segment, because he's going to be one of my guys that I'm going to, tease a little bit and say that I'm going to sell high on him, and I'll get into why when we get to that segment. But for me, it's Travis Kelsey and probably no one else in that offense. Like you said, Juju is okay, I guess, but 3 targets is nothing exciting. Marcus Valdes-Scantling gets 7 targets, but I mean, he got 2 catches for 13 yards, so nothing exciting at all on that side of the ball for them. The Chargers, they look good. Austin Eckler's been kind of a bust through 2 weeks. Mike
Nine,
Williams,
9 catches. Can't hate that if you're
yeah, no.
yeah.
Rushing wise, I meant.
Yeah.
Catching wise, we know, they're kind of playing from behind. He's one of those pass catching running backs. So in PPR, he's still effective. But with Keenan Allen out, Mike Williams did Mike Williams things and went 8 for 113 and a touchdown. So good game from him. And Gerald Everett actually looks like a viable tight end.
Tight end 4 through 2
Yeah.
weeks. Yeah. So, a lot of that was probably, propped up from being Keenan Allen being out. But hey, we like Josh Palmer and we like Everett because they are athletic players who We just needed to get a chance, and when they got their chance, they produced. So, love both of those guys, Palmer and Everett. So,
Yep.
I think Everett's a little bit of a sell high, but I don't know that anyone's really buying. But
Yeah.
saw a couple of questions in the chat, so
Yeah.
thank you
Let me
guys for
pull them up.
participating in the chat. We will answer any questions that you guys have. So appreciate
Yeah,
that.
welcome to the show, Caden, the Colts fan. If you are, I'm sorry that you're a Colts fan. They look awful through 2 weeks, but if you are new to the channel, please subscribe. So he said he was just offered Devontae Adams and Deandre Swift for Cooper Kupp and Javonte Williams. What do you think about that trade?
Yeah, I'm gonna. I like the Cup and Javante side. Adams had a little bit of a down game this week. Hard to argue how good DeAndre Swift looks. He looks absolutely amazing. But dude, I was saying like preseason, in a full PPR league, I would almost want Cooper Cup the first pick. I mean, the guy is just freaking automatic. I don't see why you would trade Cooper Cup. And Javonte Williams, I just think young player, offense that's been down the first 2 weeks, but I don't think it's going to be down all year. Melvin Gordon aging. I'm just taking the Cup side because I like, although Swift has been better than Javonte has the same upside as Swift does, if not more.
Yeah, I agree. I think I would definitely lean the Cup side. Dude, I think if we redrafted right now through 2 weeks, I think Cooper Kupp is the number one pick overall. I just don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's just locked and loaded with Matt Stafford at quarterback, PPR machine. The guy's floor is like 20 points, so 20 to 25 points a week. The guy just gets a million targets. He makes every catch, scores every week. Just the best fantasy player in football right now. So I just because of that fact alone, you're keeping, I guess you're the Cup and Javonte side. You're keeping the best player in fantasy. I would definitely lean towards rejecting that trade if I were you. I don't mind the Adams and Swift side. I like both of those guys, but I just think overall you're not really gaining much in the sense because, like you said, Javonte and Swift both have the same upside. So. Let's move on to the next question. Ryan, I remember you from this chat before, so welcome back. He says, "What are your thoughts on these two guys, Burrow and Noah Brown? I have Burrow in a 1 QB league, and next best options are Tua and Wentz. Considering starting Brown, assuming Keenan Allen and Godwin are out."
Okay. I'm not gonna. So Tua and Wentz are probably, the streamers of the year so far. But I'm not going to, definitely don't cut Burrow, and I don't think I'm starting Tua or Wentz over Burrow in week 3. But if you wanted to throw one of them on your bench, just in case, I don't think it's a terrible idea. They both looked amazing so far. Noah Brown, you gotta have a better option, especially maybe for week 3 he'll be fine, but Michael Gallup is gonna come back and practice this week, so Noah Brown's shelf life is not there, right? I mean, he might be a thing for one more week, but I wouldn't bank on it. So we'll get to it in the waiver wire section, but this week for the wide receivers on the waiver wire this week is like an absolute feast.
Plethora.
Yes. So
there's a plethora of wide receivers, and like Chris said, we do a waiver wire segment at the end of the show, so stay tuned and we'll talk about those guys. But yeah, I definitely agree. There's way better options for Noah Brown than Noah Brown. I'll say this: I actually don't mind Tua over Burrow at this point. Burrow looks kind of lost. The offensive line looks terrible. He's getting sacked considerably, like way too many times. And I don't know if this is true or not, but he did just have an appendectomy like a few weeks ago, and maybe like a month or a month and a half ago. And I think he's lost a little bit of like stamina or something. Like he just doesn't look spry, and he doesn't look like the Burrow of last year. And there's just something is wrong, I think. Through 2 weeks, he's just been not the guy. So I think for right now, I would probably prefer Tua over Burrow just because Tua looks pretty damn good, and he has his full complement of weapons, and that offense in Miami looks pretty amazing, especially with their new head coach. So I would consider starting Tua over Burrow until we see some sort of life out of Burrow moving forward. So Jake, he said the funny thing. It's funny that you say this. He says, "Rick, you got to start that playoff beard again after Sunday." Well, the funny thing is, Jake, I actually just shaved right before the show because I want my beard to look good for Chris's wedding next week because my guy's getting married next week, and I'm going to be in the wedding, so I need to look good for these pictures. So I shaved today, so like a week and a half later, my beard kind of grows in a little bit. It looks perfect. So I got the shave-in right before the show. So yeah, I might not shave for a while.
That's commitment, dude. Thank you. Appreciate you.
I also got my haircut today too, so it looks good next week. All right. What did Ryan say? Didn't see Gallup coming back. News thanks the league. Yeah. Michael Gallup's coming back in either next week or the week after that. Cordell Patterson, James Robinson, or Hunter Renfrow in my final flex spot.
Well, I don't like my answer, but I know my answer.
I know my answer too.
James Robinson. I mean,
yeah, that's got to be James Robinson, right?
He's like running back 4 or 5 so far on the year, and you just can't argue his usage. So, James Robinson. We got a nice week out of Cordell Patterson in week 1, but they definitely used a lot more Algier in week 2. It was like a 50-50 split, I think. And Hunter Renfrow, he had a better game week 2, but he had 2 fumbles in overtime, and he might be a little bit in the doghouse now after that, especially after it cost him the game. Yeah, I agree. So just to wrap it up with Caden about his trade he asked earlier, he said, "I just don't like Javonte." Dude, just be patient, please. I mean, He's a really, really good player, and his offense is going to come around once Russ gets a little bit more comfortable. Don't overreact and fall out of favor with Javonte. He's really good.
One thing I want you to remind you of, Caden, is the fact that Denver, they have a brand new quarterback and a brand new head coach, so it takes a little bit of time for these new regimes to kind of gel a little bit. Yes, Nathaniel Hackett's looked awful as a head coach through 2 weeks, but just give him a little bit of time. Russell's gonna start to cook, and he'll be fine by the end of the season. I suspect Javonte by the end of the year is going to be definitely going to be a top 15 RB, maybe even top 10 RB in the league.
I agree.
All right. Let me see here. Jake with a funny comment. He said veteran move always a week and a half, 2 weeks in bed. Yeah, that's me too, man. Yep. All right. So we're going to move on to the second game, which was a torture chamber for us. Dolphins at Ravens, an absolute shootout here. The Ravens lose this game 38-42 in Baltimore. Blowing a 21-point lead, losing the fourth quarter 28-3. Yeah, man, this was really tough to watch. It was one of those games where I kind of felt it was coming. I think I got a little too comfortable in the third quarter when we had a 21-point lead, and I was like, yeah, there's no way we're losing this game. But that's the thing about Tyreek Hill and now even Jalen Waddle, man. These guys just can flip a game on its head, and when you have a really banged up, Marlon Humphrey didn't play the fourth quarter. When you have a banged up secondary and rookies at safety and stuff like that, there's going to be miscommunication issues and bad defense that just cost us the game.
Right. Yeah, I was at this game personally, and I don't know what happened. I heard a couple people say the Ravens' new defensive coordinator just like kept trying to go for a kill shot, bring in too much pressure when it wasn't really needed, or, playing both safeties down in the box. And it just, I know I hate prevent defense, but if there's ever one time to play a little bit of prevent defense, it's up 21 points in the fourth quarter against Tyreek Hill. So I don't know. I think it was piss poor coaching and also, bad execution. NFL players should know someone has to be deep over the top with a team that's playing aggressive on offense and taking shots. I think a little bit of the love on Tua is kind of oversold, because 2 of his touchdown passes to Tyreek Hill, totaling about 100 yards, were simple pitch and catch. I mean, there's nothing to him. The guy just ran right by our corner without being touched, and there was no safety there. So he just threw it to him. And so I'm not going to say the Dolphins didn't earn it, But I think the hype on Tua is being a little bit overblown.
Which is funny coming from you, who absolutely loves Tua.
Who loves Tua? But I was at the game and I saw it, and two of Tua's touchdown passes I could have made. So, literally just someone wide open standing there 40 yards down the field. But anyway,
do you think it's left-handed biasness?
Oh, I mean, those videos of Tua throwing right-handed were awesome.
Yeah, he has a cannon for an arm right-handed, but when he throws left-handed, he just looks awful. But maybe it's the right-handed biasness. But fantasy-wise, like I told you guys in, I don't know if I'd said it in our text thread or on Discord or whatever. Oh, that's another thing. Join our Discord. The link is in the description of the video. We chat about football and golf and Bills things all weekend long. Please join that Discord. It's free. Come join and talk to us and sweat it out with us. But on Sunday, I had a lineup. I played in the 333 Wildcat on DraftKings that. After the 1 p.m. session, I was in first place, had the most minutes remaining because I stacked Lamar Jackson with Bateman and ran it back with Waddle, and also has like Samuel and a couple other good players. Amon-Ra St. Brown, who crushed it, obviously. And after the 1 p.m. session, I was like winning literally $250,000 on DraftKings. And then in the afternoon, I had Mixon, who blew, Bengals defense, who blew, and then my last guy was awful too. Oh, Albert O, who just doesn't know how to play tight end. So I dropped from first to like 79th. I still cashed nicely because of that stack. But I was pretty high on the over. I bet the over in this game. I knew it was going to be kind of a shootout. But what can we say about Tyreek and Jalen Waddle? They both look like two top 10 wide receivers. Tyreek's a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. And it looks like Tua can support two really good fantasy wide receivers here.
This the Dolphins offense is just not. I don't think it's what anyone thought. I think people thought it was going to be, 49ers-esque of like, let's establish the run, let's get our backs involved. This is just like, Rams, greatest show on turf, slinging it all over the place. They're fun to watch, man. I'm not gonna lie. So arguably, the best wide receiver pair in the NFL right now, Hill and Waddle. So, not only are they putting up stats, they're looking good doing it, and you're gonna want pieces of this Dolphins offense. As for the Ravens, don't know if many or any quarterbacks in the NFL had as good and as efficient of a day as Lamar Jackson did.
Amazing.
The guy, I've never seen Lamar Jackson play that good. Yeah, he played amazing on Sunday and lost. I mean, he had how long was his touchdown run? 78 yards.
Yep.
I don't know what you're supposed to do. 318 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 119 rushing yards, another touchdown, and no picks, no turnovers. Yeah. And he had the fumble, but I don't know that was his fault. Just sticking with going down the Ravens side of the ball. I think it was pretty funny that the Ravens wide receivers were kind of like shit on all offseason, and Rashad Bateman and Devin Duvernay were clocked at the 2 fastest speeds in the NFL this week. Duvernay scored again for his 3rd touchdown of the year, and Bateman had a 75-yard touchdown. So. Ravens have some playmakers, just not super deep in that department, and absolutely no running game to speak of. Justice Hill had 16 rushing yards, and he was their number 1 running back. So,
we're desperately need J.K. Dobbins to be back and healthy.
Yep, and I'll give like a teaser on a buy low, but I really like to seek out like an 0-2 team that's like. Obviously desperate, wants to switch it up. An 0-2 team that has like a J.K. Dobbins, someone they've got 0 points from so far. And although it's not his fault, right, that they're 0-2 per se, they just want to do something different. They need like an immediate satisfaction to like change it around. I love attacking that kind of situation. So maybe try for that.
Yeah. Nothing to speak of when it comes to the running game, but I think Bateman I think it's safe to say he's probably a top 20 wide receiver every week, wide receiver 2, with wide receiver 1 upside. Mark Andrews is, top 3 tight end and top 2 tight end in the league, I would say.
Top one.
Top 1 tight end in the league. Yeah, who knows? But yeah, it's a pretty condensed kind of passing tree for the Ravens. It's kind of Lamar to Rashad and Andrews, and everyone else is just like they're not fantasy viable. But even though Duvernay has 3 touchdowns on the year, kind of fluky, I think. But I don't think he's really a play. He might be a in a pinch, you might be able to play him in flex or something like that, but nothing consistent throughout the week. I just really want, before we move on, I just really wanted to quickly talk about the Dolphins running game. So week 1, Chase Edmonds had a good week, and Raheem Mostert was kind of lost in the shuffle in week 1. But week 2, in a situation where the Dolphins were down and you would expect Chase Edmonds to be out on the field, as a pass catching back or whatever, he was not on the field. It was Raheem Mostert getting all the touches, and he looked pretty good. I don't know if it's because the Ravens defense is so bad, but he was running downhill. He was running people over. He looked really good with the ball. What do we think about the Dolphins backfield? I'm a little scared being someone who owns a lot of Chase Edmonds here.
Yeah, it was the Raheem Mostert revenge game. That's all I have to say about that. Yeah, former Raven there. I don't know, man.
Totally forgot he was a Raven.
Yeah. I'm not going to overreact on that. I mean, we know from watching Chase Edmonds play for years in Arizona, he's an elite pass catching back, probably top 8 to 10 in the NFL at that skill. So I'm not going to overreact just because of one game. It could have been anything, man. He could have bent his thumb back and it was really swollen, or rolled an ankle. It could be anything that just haven't reported. But I'm not going to overreact on that. We know Chase Edmonds is elite pass catcher, and with that offense, if anything, I'm looking to buy low on him.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, let's wrap up that awful game. We got the Pats this week. I actually really like the Ravens this week. They're a -2.5 point favorite at New England. I think New England sucks, and I think this will be a good chance for us to bounce back and actually win a game.
Just one more thing on the Ravens game. So, before I'm sure everyone's heard, the unfortunate passing of Tony Siragusa recently. But I was at a tailgate, and it was 25 of ex-Ravens players came to the Be More Around Town charity tailgate, and Ray Lewis was one of them. So it was really cool seeing all the ex-Ravens up on stage. Tony Siragusa's whole family, his daughters, and they were out there, and it was a really emotional scene. But Ray Lewis gave his real emotional speech, and it was really cool. There's some videos out on the internet, but I'll have to find one maybe for next week. But it was really cool to pay homage to such a good player and just a good person, and Tony Siragusa. So thanks for bringing it up, Jake. It was really really cool to see Ray come out and support Tony.
Yeah, definitely looked cool in social media. I wish I was there. But yeah, rest in peace, Tony. I loved him as a Raven. Very unfortunate. All right, moving on. We have the next game we're going to talk about was the Washington Commanders at the Detroit Lions. I never thought I would be excited to talk about a game like this, but the Lions get the job done at home, 36-27. I think this was the first time they were favored in a football game in 2 years or 3 years or something like that. Yeah, man, I'll let you talk about it, but I'm just going to come out and say it. I'm on St. Brown. I think he's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. He's doing this with Jared Goff at quarterback, so it just tells you how good he is. I don't know if his production is going to really take how much of a hit it's going to take once Jameson Williams gets on the field in about a month or two, but he's outstanding. I would classify him as a top 5, top 6 wide receiver in the NFL. And he's my boy, man. I own a lot of him. I'm going to play him in DFS every week, and I love him.
Yeah, he's wide receiver 2 through 2 weeks. Hard to argue the production, and this is just it's just so funny how little everyone, including ourselves, knows about fantasy football. Last year, just down the stretch, when Amon-Ra was just absolutely dominating every week, he just kept throwing up 8 for 90, 9 for 110. He just kept throwing up solid game after solid game, and they're like, It's because all the receivers are hurt. Hawkinson's hurt. They're just giving him some run. If this teaches us anything, if players get on an NFL field and they do well for like 3, 4, 5 games in a row, it's not a fluke.
It's not a
like
fluke.
one game is a fluke. 2 games might be a fluke. 3, 4, 5 games is not a fluke. If you put up numbers that many games in a row, I don't care what the scenario is. I don't care. It just doesn't matter. I mean, this guy, he's an amazing college player, and then all of a sudden in the combine, he got coined as slow, so he fell down draft boards, and it doesn't matter because
he's not slow.
Yeah, he's he runs the 40-yard dash slow. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So yeah, amazing player. They're giving him carries as well. He had 2 carries in the game as well. So yeah, I don't know that there's a buy window on him. I think that's all but slammed shut in both Dynasty and Redraft. So if you have Amon-Ra, congrats. If you don't have him, you're not going to be able to get him. So yeah, he looks amazing. Just a little bit more about the Lions side. Almost a crime to give Deandre Swift only 7 touches. I love the Lions. They have a lot of great players, but you got to give the guy, if DeAndre Swift doesn't have a dozen touches or more, you're doing something wrong. He's an absolute house call waiting to happen every time he touches the ball. So, yeah, he's the number 2 running back through 2 weeks, and that's with only 7 touches this past game. So if they actually give him 15 to 18 touches, he's just going to Christian McCaffrey everyone. So I hope it happens.
The Lions are going to make the playoffs this year.
Wow. Love their coach.
They're so fun to watch,
dude. I don't know what it is about them. They're just like infectious. I can't not look.
Yeah.
The big league that we're in together, the big buy-in league, I have Swift, Hawkinson, and Jameson Williams. I'm all in, dude.
All in on the Lions. You know who else is awesome? Jahan Dotson. That guy's good.
Oh my God. Yeah, we'll talk about it in waiver wires. But who would have known that there is legitimately, how we said on the Chiefs, there's only like 2 skill position players we can start in fantasy. Okay, there's this many on the Commanders you can start. Yep. You can start Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Antonio Gibson, and
Logan
Thomas.
Yeah,
there's 2 on the Chiefs
and Carson Wentz.
It's freaking wild, dude. This is why fantasy football is fun, because like, I mean, they're loaded, man. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So who do you like? So going forward this season, rank the 3 Commanders receivers: Dotson, McLaurin, Samuel. Just all prices being equal. Who would you take in what order?
That's a tough question. I mean, most people, if you ask them that question, are probably going to lean with Terry McLaurin as one. But through 2 weeks, man, I can't deny the fact that Jahan Dotson looks like you just said, 1 week might be a fluke, 2 weeks might be a fluke. But if we get another week with Jahan Dotson getting in the end zone and putting up yardage numbers, he might be the number 1 guy on that team. And then Curtis Samuel, just from the graveyard, that little he's been injured for the last like 2 years or like whatever. He looks amazing. He looks explosive. He's scoring touchdowns and gaining yards. So he looks like the man too. So if I was to answer that question, I'll probably go Dotson, McLaurin, then Samuel. But it's all really close for me.
I know, man. It's a tough one. I have to go McLaurin, I think, just because of the pedigree. Yeah. But I think it's a toss up between the other 2 guys.
But Wentz is looking more towards Dotson than McLaurin.
Yeah, I mean, and so I actually checked this before the show. Dotson, I thought he was just going to be, like kind of like a distant wide receiver 3. He played like 98% of the snaps this week. Like he's an every down player. Yeah. But yeah, I think the answer is all of them. Ron Rivera loves Curtis Samuel and knows exactly how to use Curtis Samuel. He used him well in Carolina when Curtis Samuel used to be a wide receiver 2 his last year in Carolina. So yeah, I did not. The Curtis Samuel thing is not a fluke. I mean, I'm telling you, he is going to be an every week wide receiver 3 thing moving forward.
Yep. All right, let's answer this question from Legend Clips. Welcome to the channel. Please subscribe if you haven't already. He says, should I trade Jamar Chase for Joe Mixon and A.J. Brown? If they don't accept this, should I do Mixon and Devontae Smith?
There's a lot of things that depend. So, like, it depends how many.
So you definitely shouldn't do the second part. I don't think Jamar Chase for Mixon and Devontae Smith is anything. But the first part of that question, I would definitely be interested in it.
Yeah, I mean, if your league starts 3 wide receivers and 2 flex, I'm probably I'm probably interested in the Mixon and AJ Brown for Jamar Chase. Yes. I mean, I hate giving up Jamar Chase, but those you're getting a top 10 running back and a top 15 receiver. So
yeah,
I don't. Yeah. I almost don't know how you don't do that. But if it's like a really tight starting lineup where it's like 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and no flex, I'm probably gonna keep Chase.
And man, Eagles looked good last night. They look like one of the best teams in the NFC, if you ask me. They might not have the greatest defense in the world, but that offense is cooking with AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts looks amazing. So just kind of depending on your team, your roster, but I think that's a pretty. I think you're winning in that trade because
don't do the second one. Do not.
Yeah, don't do the second one.
Don't do Chase for Mixon and Devontae Smith.
Yep. All right, we got another question here from Bungalow Joe. Welcome to the channel. He says, need help. I just got offered 3 different trades. Which one should I take? Trade away Lamar for St. Brown, Tua for CD, or Tua and Deontay for St. Brown?
Not the last one.
So wait a minute.
He has Lamar and Tua, from what I can.
Okay, so he has Lamar and Tua. Okay,
so I think trading away Tua is the play here. Don't trade away Lamar because he's, I think, far and away better than Tua rest of season. But which one do you like best, Rick? Bless you.
Yeah, I don't like CD moving forward without Dak.
Here's my thing on. See, I'm okay. So just to take a step back, if I have Tua and Lamar, I'm gonna try not to overreact on Tua's big game, and I want to keep Lamar and use Tua's big game to get a nice return for him. And so here's why I like the Tua for CD one, because it's just a 1-for-1 Tua for CD, and if you want St. Brown, you also have to give up Deontay Johnson, who, in my opinion, is a every week wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 at worst. Well, why would you also give him up if you don't really have to? I don't think it's a lock that St. Brown is that much better than CD the rest of the year. I mean, Dak is coming back in like 2 or 3 weeks. I'm doing the Tua for CD. That's my pick. I want to see what you think, though.
Okay. If you have Lamar already, I think I don't actually mind. I'm just so high on Amari St. Brown that I just don't mind that last offer there, Tua and Deontay for St. Brown, because you already have Lamar, so you don't need Tua. And you're upgrading. I think you're upgrading at wide receiver because I just think the Steelers' offense is terrible with Trubisky and possibly Pickett in the future. So for me, I think out of those 3, I definitely go for the third one, but I think Chris is leaning more towards the second one.
Yeah, don't trade Lamar. He's a
don't trade Lamar. All right, we got a bunch of questions here. Let's see here. Kyle says, "Set my lineup, please." You set your own lineup. Cousins, Aaron Jones, Montgomery, Hunt, Patterson. Oh my God! I mean, this is way too. Okay, so he says 2 running backs, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. Okay, so 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 1 flex. Just quickly go through that and pick 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers.
Aaron Jones is a must start every week, no matter what. I don't see another good running back besides Montgomery.
Diggs is a must start at wide receiver.
Yeah. Aaron Jones and Diggs for sure. Montgomery looked great this past week, and the Bears literally have no one else. So I like Montgomery. Julio's not going to play. Godwin's not going to play. Drake London's a beast. So Diggs, Drake London, Aaron Jones, Montgomery, and for the flex, I'm gonna go Kareem Hunt.
And Waller at tight end.
Waller at tight end, of course.
Yep.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Julio asked PPR. I got Eckler, Akers, Patterson, Naheem Hines at running back, Debo, Kirk, ABJ, CD, and wide receiver Jalen Hurts at Q. Okay, I don't know what your question is.
Good team.
Someone sent me Najee and J-Rob for Eckler. Would you do it in PPR? Najee and J-Rob for Eckler.
Najee and J-Rob for Eckler. Yes.
I think so too. We'll talk about it in our sell segment soon. But I think at this point I'm selling Najee. I don't like him at all this year.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on real quick. We got another question here. Lynn wins. He says replacing Komet. Yeah, he's awful. You can drop him.
Catches. Good lord.
Should I waiver for Logan Thomas, Conklin, Evan Ingram, or Hayden Hurst? Worst guys on my bench at the moment are Penny and Pickens. Would either be worth a drop for two guys for a rotation. Definitely between those two players for dropping wise, I would say Pickens for sure.
Well, he's dropping Komet for one tight end, and then so I see the question he's asking. He's dropping Komet for one of the tight ends, and he's asking if you should drop a second person to have two tight ends.
Okay, yeah.
You don't need two.
You don't need two tight ends. Yeah,
I would say drop Komet for Logan Thomas.
And then, out of those four guys, Chris says Logan Thomas. Kind of a toss-up between those four guys. It's a kind of a boom-bust stream situation. Tyler Conklin's been getting some good run. He's been getting targets. Ingram had a decent game, too. But I think the most fantasy viable guy is going to be Logan Thomas just because that offense is kind of lubing off fantasy-wise. We got a lot of questions here. Patty says PPR, should I receive Hunt and Jamal Williams for Dalton, Schultz, and Chase Edmonds? It's an interesting trade.
So basically, okay, Dalton Schultz is hurt, right? Yeah. So it's basically, I think Jamal Williams is like a non-factor. I don't think he's worth hardly anything. No, just keep Schultz and Edmonds. I mean, I think Hunt's better than Edmonds, but not by a ton. And I think Schultz is infinitely more valuable than Jamal Williams.
All right. Thanks for subbing, Lynn. Sorry that your picture is Mitch Trubisky. He is not any good. He is going to be benched in the next couple weeks. All right, let's move on. I got a half an hour before I got to roll here, so we're done talking about Commanders and Lions. Let's talk about the Bengals at the Cowboys. Cowboys kick a game-winning field goal to help the Ravens out here and beat the Bengals at home, 20-17, behind amazing Cooper Rush play. Talk to me about this game. It was not fun for me to watch Joe Mixon and the Bengals defense suck from my DFS point of view. Ezekiel Elliott is absolute dust in my opinion. Tony Pollard is the best running back on that team, which I've said for 2 years now. And talk to me.
I think I was as sad as my life is. I was thinking about this on my ride home from work today. It's like, if you have Ezekiel Elliott in Dynasty, is it time you just offer him straight up for Pollard? I think we're almost there.
Yes,
right.
I would do that in any league. That's just me though. I'm just very anti Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah,
he looks terrible.
Me and you both are. Yeah, we both loved Pollard for the past 2 years.
He had 15 carries for 53 yards, but he just looks slow and just looks like a Power Ranger with that helmet. I don't know what else to say. He just looks terrible.
Yeah. Pollard had almost as many touches as Zeke, and Dallas was winning almost the entire game, right? Yeah. So it should have been a Zeke game where Zeke gets, 20, 25 carries and wears out the defense and grinds them down. He just doesn't have it anymore, man. He's so worn out.
Pollard had the same amount of touches and double the yardage and a touchdown. So, yes, Pollard.
So, that being said, if I was a Zeke owner and someone offered me Pollard for Zeke straight up 3 seconds from now, I actually don't know if I could hit accept.
I'm clicking accept as fast as possible.
Oh, really? Okay, so we're there, huh? Are we making a strong stand right now?
Yes, I am making
Yes.
I'm making that stand. Zeke is dust, man. Get rid of Zeke. If whatever you can get for him, anything like that's valuable, trade him
Okay.
away. Because people, his name still carries value, in my opinion. People will see the name Ezekiel Elliott that are inexperienced fantasy football players, and they'll say, "Okay, I'm trading Ezekiel Elliott for AJ Dillon." Yes, I'll take Ezekiel Elliott.
Sounds wonderful.
AJ Dillon is way better
Yeah.
at fantasy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, all right. So Rick said it here first. Pollard more points this year than Zeke, and I'm not sure I disagree all that much. Okay. My main takeaway is that we talked a little bit about it in the last trade that the gentleman talked about. Dude, I can't quit CD. I think there's way too much opportunity for him on this team that I'm not selling CD low right now. I just can't do it. Dak's injury not as quite as bad as we thought, and he even looked good with Cooper Rush. So yeah, man, I think CD is one of my biggest buy lows right now.
The thing I like about CD is that there's no one else on that team to really catch balls. Yeah, Noah Brown had a good game, whatever.
Gallup's coming back, and
Gallup's coming back. Yeah, Gallup is going to be eat into his usage a little bit, but CD's on the play for on the field for every play, and his volume, he'll get there, man. I don't mind CD. I don't really know how I feel about him with Cooper Rush at quarterback, but if you drafted CD in the second or third round this year, yeah, it's a little tough times to kind of deal with it, but I think he'll eventually get there for you.
I agree.
Anything from the Bengals side of the ball? T. Higgins looked good.
Yeah, he's the truth, man. It's like they have two wide receiver ones. It's not a 1 and 2, and yeah, better tandem right now. Higgins and Chase or a Waddle and Hill. I don't know who I would take in real life.
I think I would still lean towards Higgins and Chase, but it's close between those guys. I also don't mind. I know Allen Robinson's not the greatest wide receiver in the world, but I don't mind Kupp and Robinson either.
Yeah. So yeah, Higgins is the man. I don't know. Mixon had such a blah game. Sorry about your non-hit in DFS, the one you were so close on hitting. That sucks.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I needed Mixon so badly in that game. Game.
So anyway, yeah, not a whole lot to talk about. Hayden Hurst is a thing again. Go Ginger. So I don't know. Just a boring game. I think the main takeaway from this game was just the kind of the passing of the torch from Zeke to Pollard, and the fact that I still think CD is a thing. So that was my big takeaways from this one.
Cool. Let's answer a couple more questions here. Ray Gamer, welcome to the channel. Please subscribe if you haven't already. He says Bengals defense versus Jets, Steelers defense versus Browns on Thursday, or Cowboys defense versus Giants on Monday. I have Bengals and Steelers on my team. Which one should I drop if you think Cowboys?
Just first of all, don't hold two defenses unless you're. I wouldn't, at least. I like to hold one defense because I'd rather stash like an extra running back on my bench just in case of injury. I mean, I think
my answer here is going to be the Steelers, just because Thursday night games are a little ugly. Jacoby Brissett is not that good. Low point total on the board. I want to say Bengals defense also, just because the Jets throw every play, but I don't know, man. Tough call for me here.
I mean, the simple answer is they're all three like top 8 to 10 options. So yeah. I don't think that you could go wrong for any of them. But Rick's right. Thursday games are disgusting. I would not. I think Bengals is out for me. It's between the Steelers and the Cowboys. It's always fun to pick on Daniel Jones, especially the way the Cowboys pass rush.
You mean 2-0 Daniel Jones?
What?
2-0?
He still sucks.
Yeah,
Micah Parsons is going to strip sack Daniel Jones. Mike, be ready to clip this video when it happens. Yeah, so I don't know. I would lean the Thursday game just because they're ugly. But if you have a hunch for Dallas, um, Daniel Jones loves turns the ball over. But yeah, between those two, and don't hold two defenses, please.
Yeah, don't hold two defenses. You just want to stream defenses week to week, like I usually do. He's just telling us the rest of his team here. Eckler and Williams have been. Yep, I agree with all that. Thank you for subbing, Ray. Welcome to the channel. Patty,
Appreciate that,
this is
man.
going back to the guy I'm trading with wants Schultz and Edmonds. Who should I ask for? I need flex depth. Marquise, Metcalf, Hunt, Hines.
So you're giving up Schultz and Edmonds. Who should you get? Marquise, Metcalf. Well, Hines is not an option.
Yeah.
I guess maybe you can ask for two people. I don't know, man. I I would say Marquise Brown or Kareem Hunt. I mean, DK Metcalf is barely a he barely is
Yeah, he's not.
has
He's
a
not a
has a
thing.
pulse anymore. I don't know. I think I love
It's
Kareem
not that
Hunt, but
It's not that Metcalf is bad. It's just that offense is terrible with Gino.
I guess my answer is if you only get one of those players, just don't do that trade. I mean,
Yeah, I would just hold on to Edmonds.
I would hold Schultz and Edmonds if you only get one of those players. If you get two of those players, then
I would go after
I would say
Marquise and Hunt.
Marquise and Hunt. Yeah.
Hold on about that. Okay. All right. He said he also has Claypool. No thanks. All right. Let's move on. The last game we're going to talk about, Bills Mafia. Titans at Bills. An absolute shellacking. The Bills look like the best team in the NFL. Very much deserved Super Bowl favorites at the moment, 41-7. Diggs looks amazing. Maryland represent. No Gabe Davis in this game. He was hurt and did not play in this game. I guess, you could talk to me about this game, but the first question I'm just going to ask you about this game, are we worried about Derrick Henry?
I'm not worried about him because I don't own him anywhere because he never crossed
I
my
think I
mind.
asked you this question last
Yeah,
week, too.
you did. I'm a Henry hater, so I'm terrible to get advice for about Henry. Watch, he'll all of a sudden he always does bad at the beginning of the year, right? So if
Yeah,
you
and then he
have
just
him,
he turns it on in October, November, December.
do not panic sell Henry. I don't have to worry about it because I don't own any of him, but do not panic sell him in the summertime. He turns it on later, but yeah, man, I wouldn't sell him, but I would be worried. He doesn't look good at all, and this offense is bottom five in the NFL. I mean, they are anemic, man. They have nothing going on. If Malik Willis didn't look pretty awful last night, I would say he would be breathing down Tannehill's neck, but he's way too raw, man. He's not ready.
Who's the best team in the AFC South? The Jags.
Jags.
Yeah, the Jags look
No,
good, man.
it's the Colts.
No, it's not the Colts. They're awful. Dude, Matt Ryan is the worst quarterback in the NFL. He looks
Yeah.
like absolute trash. Put in their backup. I don't know who their backup is. He's better than Matt Ryan.
Jacob Eason? Right?
Yeah, put him in. Matt Ryan is terrible.
I don't know, man. They still
People
have
said
Jonathan-
people said they upgraded from Wentz to Matt Ryan. No, they downgraded.
Wow. Yeah, I mean that division's just hot garbage. So
Yeah, I think the Jags might win that division.
be pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
So
what else you got from this game?
if you look at the box, like if you didn't watch this whole game and you're just peeking at the box score, you're like, oh look, James Cook, he's their running back one now. He's awesome. He was involved in their win. No, he wasn't. I don't think he played until like.
That was all
one-
that was all garbage time, right?
Yeah, he had like I don't know the exact time that they handed him the keys, but he had like one carry like entering the late third quarter, something like that. But yeah, it's if you did not watch this game and you just look at the stats, he's not the thing. Like you had to watch the order in which things happened. Once the game was well in control, they put him in. Now maybe that helped them build confidence in him again after his fumble in week 1. We will see, but he was not the running back 1 or 2 in the pecking order going into this game as it stood. So, yeah, Yeah, Gabe Davis was out. I just want to make a quick comment. Isaiah McKenzie, yeah, he caught a touchdown week 1, but he's just not getting the volume or the snaps that I thought he was going to get. Taking over for Beasley in that slot role. He's not the every down player that Beasley was. So I know McKenzie, he was kind of a late round darling for a lot of people. I think he's still rosterable and maybe like startable in the flex if you're desperate, but I don't think he's someone you're rushing to get in your lineup.
I agree. I think it's the Diggs and Gabe Davis show, and when Gabe Davis is not out, it's if Gabe Davis does not play in a game, I think you have to get to Diggs in daily fantasy. If you're playing DraftKings out there, he is Josh Allen's number one target, and he just knows how to light up defenses. He played phenomenal last night, and he's the man. And when Davis is in there, I think Josh Allen is good enough to carry 2 wide receivers. I think 2 wide receiver ones on that team, and the Bills look amazing. Anything about the
Titans?
The Titans passing game? Nothing for me.
Treylon Burks is good, dude. I think the top 3 waiver wire pickups for this week are all rookies. Treylon, his stat lines have been because he's like a part-time player right now. He's like a half the snaps kind of player. You got to remember he's a really raw, just athletic freak type player. Coming out of college, it's going to take him a while to get used to the NFL. He's not super polished. He's just a bully type player, and he's already good. As soon as they figure out our offense sucks and we just need to get this guy the ball, his trajectory is going to remind me of AJ Brown. So just like super raw, athletic freak, and then they find out we just got to hand this guy the ball, give him screens, get him slants and let him work. So I don't know. I really like him a lot.
All right. That's it for recapping games here. Ryan has one more question. I know we're going to have different answers about this, so go ahead and tell him why it's not time to panic about Pitts, and I'll tell you why it is.
Well, I think Ryan is looking at our show sheet. So our next section is buy lows and sell highs, and this is a good segue. Great segue, Ryan. You want to be our producer? We'll talk about some buy lows. I have more than one, but my number one by far is Kyle Pitts. I think that it is underrated how important a tight end is in fantasy football, especially if you have shallow starting rosters and you don't really have 3 wide receivers or a bunch of flex. A good tight end is really important, and I think that people are ready to panic on Pitts. We so quickly forget that he had the best rookie season of a tight end of all time last year, and the kid is 21 years old, adjusting to a new quarterback. Do not panic on Kyle Pitts. He led the team in targets week 1. He didn't get as many week 2. Guy's an athletic specimen. He's going to come around. I'm not saying I would pay the market price from someone that purchased him, but if I can give up a wide receiver 3 for and whatever shitty tight end I have, if you can give up Tyler Higbee and any wide receiver 3 Jerry Jeudy or something, or Brandon Ayuk for Pitts, done. That's the kind of trade you need to make. A tight end that has some sort of touchdown or 70-yard game in the first 2 weeks, plus a receiver that's showing well but doesn't really have that high-end pedigree. Make that exact trade for Kyle Pitts.
All right. Well, Chris is playing chess. I'm going to play checkers and say, time to panic. He's not that good. Mariota's not that good. And sell him if you can. Just my thoughts.
So who? Yeah, I know. It's just to me.
What the trade that you just said for Tyler Higbee and I don't know, name a wide receiver 2 or 3. I would think I would make that deal if I had Pitts.
So yeah. So for example, if I'm a team that say I got Amon-Ra St. Brown in round 6 or 7. And so that's a bonus that I didn't think I was going to quite hit that hard on him. And I have Deontay Johnson I got in round 3. well, if my tight end was, I waited on tight end and I got Cole Kmet, well, I'm trading Deontay Johnson for Kyle Pitts all day, every day, and not thinking twice.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a different story. If you have Cole Kmet at tight end, I don't mind that. But if I have Kyle Pitts and I need receiver help or something like that, I think I would make that deal. I think I would trade Kyle Pitts for Deontay Johnson and Tyler Higbee. Higbee's getting a lot of targets. He's fine. He's serviceable. And I just don't think Kyle Pitts is that good. But that's just my opinion.
Okay.
Okay. Right. Let's go into our next segment here. I got about 15 minutes before I got to go. Chris, give me some. We already talked about Kyle Pitts. Give me some buy low and sell high candidates real quick. Just let's go through them, and then I will give you a couple of my own, and then we'll get into waiver wire.
Cool. Yeah, we'll kind of pass it back and forth. Okay, so I think my number one sell high candidate, and I didn't really realize until I kind of looked deeper into the stat sheet. Well, I have two running backs that are in the top 5 right now that I think will not stay there. So Nick Chubb is the number one running back so far. Amazing runner, not denying it at all. I'm just a huge Kareem Hunt fan, and I think that, Nick Chubb had 3 touchdowns this past week. But I think if someone wants to pay you for Nick Chubb, a running back that was drafted ahead of Nick Chubb just 3 short weeks ago, I'm going to pull that off. So if you can trade Nick Chubb for Eckler, if you can trade Nick Chubb for Jonathan Taylor, if you can trade Nick Chubb for Christian McCaffrey, if you can trade Nick Chubb for I don't know, Dalvin Cook, I'd maybe think about that. But I don't know, where are you on him? I just we know that he, even in his best of years in like a PPR format, Nick Chubb's ceiling is what?
Limited.
Running back 6, 7 at the very, very best.
Yeah, I think he's very touchdown dependent nowadays. If he doesn't get in the end zone, I think his ceiling is very capped because he just does not get catches out of the backfield. So, yeah, I think it's a good opportunity to sell him if you can, especially after a week he scored 2 touchdowns last week.
3.
So 3, yeah. So I don't mind that. I like that call, and it's a very tough backfield to figure out because they're very 50-50 in usage, and it just kind of comes down to luck of the draw between those two, who gets in the end zone. So
yeah, he's played great so far. I'm just saying, I don't think a whole lot's changed since you did your draft 3 weeks ago. So if Nick Chubb was what, like a back of the second round guy, so if you can get a first round running back, I just would personally.
Yep. All right. My number one sell high candidate, and I alluded to this earlier in the show, is going to be Clyde Edwards-Hilaire. Made a couple notes here. Through 2 games, he has 192 total yards on 22 touches. This breaks down to about 8.7 yards per touch. This is way, way, way above anything he's ever done in his career. I think it's like 50 or 60% higher than he's ever done in his career. And I just think he's going to regress at this point. I just think his production is going to drop per touch. He was actually only on the field for 47% of the snaps last week, which is less than Jerick McKinnon. Pacheco's getting run. People don't really see this because they see the numbers from CEH and they're like, oh my God, he had such a good 2 weeks, blah, blah, blah. I think it's your chance to sell high on him and get a better running back who will give you more consistent production moving forward. So that's my opinion on CEH.
Yeah, I mean, if there is, he's a polarizing player, right? So players that are polarizing, they have usually out of 12 people in a league, 3 or 4 haters and 3 or 4 lovers. So you just gotta, whatever you're trying to do, you can usually, find whatever end of the spectrum you're searching for. So, yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with what you're saying. I just think you have to find the right trade partner who is a CH person that's willing to pay, the way he's produced so far.
Okay. All right. So give me someone else, Chris.
Cool. So I talked about it a little bit earlier in the show, and I won't talk too much about it. But CD Lamb's probably one of my number one buy lows right now, along with Kyle Pitts. I just think the talent's undeniable, and the opportunity is also there. And with Dak not being out for a really long time, I just think it's a really good time to swoop in and get elite talent at a cheap price tag. And then my last sell high, buy low is actually, I guess, it's working together. So I'm gonna let myself be stubborn for only. I'm not gonna say one more week because I know it'll be longer than that. For 2 more weeks, I'll let myself be stubborn. Today, right now, I would trade James Robinson for Travis Etienne straight up. And James Robinson's number 5 running back in fantasy right now. Etienne's like 35. I don't know exactly what it is.
He looks good, man.
Jameson had never not produced, and this is what's hard for me, is every time he's ever been on the field in his whole career, he's always produced. But I have eyes, and I can watch the games, and I can watch the highlights. Travis Etienne is just so much better than James Robinson. And I just think as the season goes on, it's, to me at least, undeniable that they're just going to have to feature him more. So, yeah, and Travis Etienne was what, 4th, 5th round draft pick in fantasy football drafts. James Robinson was 10th, 11th, 12th round, something like that. So I think if I had the ability right now to make that flip, I'm doing it. That's just my personal opinion. I know it would be really hard to do, but that's my take, at least for the next 2 weeks.
I like it. All right, I'm just gonna do a quick couple sells and buys for me, and then we'll get into waiver wire before we wrap up the show. Another running back that I am selling right now, like I said earlier, is gonna be Najee. He's averaging 3.5 yards per touch. He's behind a terrible offensive line. He's a little banged up. He had a bad Liz Frank's foot sprain a few weeks ago, and then he got injured last week also. I'm just very scared of Najee and his touches and his production. Things might change if they switch quarterbacks to Kenny Pickett. I'm not sure. But if you can get, Najee was a 1st-round pick this year or late, early 2nd-round pick or whatever. If you can get good value for selling Najee Harris at this point, I would do it. I would make that move. My number 1 buy candidate, and I know you love him because you drafted him in a few leagues I saw, is going to be Brandon Ayuk for the 49ers. The switch to, well, not the switch, but unfortunate injury for Trey Lance. Jimmy Garoppolo comes back in, and I think we're right back to where we were with the 49ers last year. Debo is going to be being used as a running back. And Ayuk is a good wide receiver for Jimmy Garoppolo, and he's going to get a lot of targets, and I think he's in a position to smash right now. And if you have an opportunity to go get Brandon Ayuk and not give up something too crazy, I would go buy Brandon Ayuk. I think he's going to have a good time moving forward with Jimmy G at the helm. All right, so that's my buy and low sell candidates. I got 5 minutes before I got to go, Chris. So let's run through some waiver wires.
I just sold Ayuk last week, pre Trey Lance injury
for TJ Hawkins.
Yeah.
Well, you had Irv Smith who scored a touchdown last night, so
made all the wrong moves.
We were all chatting about it in our chat. We were all making fun of you.
Great.
Because the funny thing is that you got offered that trade before week 1 and you rejected it, and then you got offered it again after week 1 when Irv Smith put up a donut in week 1, and then you accepted it. Yeah. Anyways, all right, talk to me about some running back waiver wires, and then we'll move forward.
Cool. Yeah, so running back waiver wire this week, I think my number 1 is, of course, I'm completely blanking right now. Oh, Brian Robinson. So Antonio Gibson, while I love the talent, he just doesn't have a stranglehold on that job. And by all reports, Brian Robinson, the team loves him. He looks good in practice. Although he did get shot, it's not a serious injury at all. He's already practicing like pretty much in full speed. So after week 4, he is eligible to come back. Do not wait until week 4 to try to pick him up. Pick him up now because you're not going to get him for free. but you will get him at a significant like fab discount as if you wait until next week. So pick up Brian Robinson this week for free or for cheap and stash him on your bench for 2 weeks, and let's see how this running back rotation works out. So that's my number one. Do you have any other running backs that you like this week?
Yeah, if James Conner is going to miss time, I think I like Darrell Williams as a pickup. I don't think Benjamin's role is going to change on that team, even with James Conner being out. I think it's going to be Darrell Williams that's going to be taking the main bulk of the carries, and then Benjamin's going to still play his main role there. Yeah, passing downs. And I also like Raheem Mostert. I like what I saw from him this past week. If he's available on the waiver wire, I would try to go after him. But those were my two main guys at running back. Wide receiver, I'm just going to say it. I think Garrett Wilson is amazing. I think he could be like the next Justin Jefferson, maybe.
Mike never snipped my thing from last week. I said,
did you say that? Did you say that last week?
Yeah, I put it in our text string in the show last week. I said, because the Ravens played the Jets week 1, and I said, Rick, were you watching Garrett Wilson? I said he didn't really play till like the third or fourth quarter, but I was like, dude looks freaking awesome.
Yeah, he's amazing.
I was like, I don't know why, but he looks like the next Justin Jefferson. Then he like goes off this week. So yeah, you nailed it. He's far and away the number one wide receiver on waivers this week. I mean, he just looks so good. I mean, he's immediately leapfrogged Elijah Moore and Corey Davis on that depth chart.
You have any other wide receivers?
John Dodson. If someone for some reason didn't pick up Curtis Samuel last week, Curtis Samuel, and Treylon Burks.
Don't take my guy. Okay, good. You didn't take my guy. Greg Dortch, man. This guy is awesome. Dude, Greg Dortch, I know it sounds gross, but until DeAndre Hopkins comes back, he is the man in Arizona.
I just don't like saying his name. Greg Dortch.
Dortch the Torch.
Greg Dortch. So I have one more. I have one more. But yeah, it's hard for me to argue that. Rondale Moore's out, Hopkins is out. The Cardinals just look gross. So I guess.
They looked good in that second half last week. They came back and they won that game. Part of my big parlay that I hit last week, man. They look decent. I think obviously Hollywood Brown and Zach Ertz are probably owned, but I think Dortch is available on waivers, so pick them up.
Dortch. Yeah. And my last one is it goes in the same vein as Brian Robinson, Michael Gallup. So Michael Gallup, he's supposed to start practicing this week. If you can throw him on the end of your bench, and you never know, you might luck into wide receiver 3, back end wide receiver 2 type. Once he comes back, Dak will be back around the same time. The offense is incredibly fast paced. Let's light it up.
All right. Let's move on real quick. Tight ends, and then we got one last question, and we'll wrap up the show. I think my number one tight end pickup this week is going to be Logan Thomas. I just like the Commanders' offense, and I think if you're struggling at tight end and he's available, I think he's a good pickup.
Yep. Logan Thomas is probably the one that's most readily available that I would pick up. If for some reason Higbee is available or Irv Smith is available in your league, I lean Irv Smith and Higbee over Logan Thomas, but all three of those are in play.
Yeah, I don't mind Hayden Hurst too. I think he's getting some good run too in Cincy. So tight end's a pretty boomer bust position like we talked about. But yeah, I think I would prefer Higbee over Logan Thomas. So last question, and then we're going to wrap up the show. Thank you, Blue Crew, for joining the show. He says, great show, gentlemen. Half PPR, trade away Kittle and receive J.K. Dobbins and T.J. Hawkinson. My current RBs are Eli Mitchell, injured. Michael Carter, good. Pollard, good. Brian Robinson, going to come back. I'm assuming that's Jamal Williams.
Or Javonte.
I
don't know which one it is.
I don't know if I mean
he wouldn't list Javonte last.
Yeah, I don't think he would list Javonte. I'm guessing Jamal Williams. If it was Javonte Williams, you're good. But Jamal Williams, I would do that trade. Kittle sucks.
He
doesn't suck.
I don't think Kittle sucks, but I think you're buying Dobbins on the cheap. So I said it earlier in the show. I think there's going to be someone who's frustrated, and even though Dobbins hasn't even had a chance to play, they're going to want to move him for no reason. Yes, Hawkinson and Dobbins greater than Kittle. Yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to say Kittle sucks. I just don't like his usage, and he seems to be hurt a lot. And maybe things will change now with Jimmy G. Yeah, so maybe, but I think for right now, moving forward, in my opinion, Kittle and Hawkinson are about the same. And you're getting J.K. Dobbins, I would definitely make that move, especially because your running backs seem pretty weak.
Yeah. So Red, White, and Bills. What up, Sean? Thanks for joining. Selling Renfro. I mean, for what? I mean, like, what are you actually going to get for selling Hunter Renfro? I don't know that anyone's paying anything for him.
I think Hunter Renfro is a fine wide receiver 3, maybe with upside, wide receiver 2 upside. So I wouldn't sell him. I think he's fine, unless he's in the doghouse for fumbling twice. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just I don't know what you're going to get in return. I mean, if someone out there is like looking to buy and you can fill a hole like at tight end or QB or something, then sure. But I would just hang on and hope for better days.
Yep. All right, Chris. Very nice show. Thanks for joining me. I will see you next week for the show next week, and then I will see you in person for your wedding next week. That's going to be some fun times.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, we'll talk to y'all again. We'll either do this next Tuesday or Wednesday, and then I'll see you on Thursday in Annapolis for the wedding, right?
Yeah, I can't do Wednesday. I'll be flying to Maryland on Wednesday, so it has to be Tuesday next week.
All right. Okay. We'll see y'all next Tuesday. Thanks for all the questions. Thanks for the subscribes. Appreciate it.
Yep. See you guys.
Later.